Well, for more, I'm joined by Ernest C.H. live from Hong Kong. He's an honorary assistant professor from the Center of Buddhist Studies at the University of Hong Kong. So, first of all, why do you think we're seeing this trend among Chinese millennials right now?
There are a couple of reasons behind this trend. First of all, we can say the current economy afford the younger generations to have more flexibilities and have more choice. Second is in this competitive environment economy, it's actually quite stressful to care and to bother with all the difficulties and all the challenges that we are facing.
So you mentioned a few things there, including this idea of competition. Do you think when you have things like social media and this mindset of comparing and competing with each other, is that something that's driving this?
Part of it could be because of the social media, but I guess also because with the development in economy, the world become more connected, and also there are a lot more competitions that we are seeing in the past. And of course, the lifestyles that we are experiencing today is a lot more fast-paced than we have ever experienced in the past.
So when you have these young Chinese adopting this Buddha lifestyle, what are some of the pros and cons in terms of consumption in the economy in China?
Perhaps we could take a step back before we talk about the Buddhist style, consumption style. We have consumerism, which I would probably say is more like an all-you-can-eat buffet. We have minimalism, which we have a very short menu. Maybe it could be a xiaolongbao, which can bring you the most joy and experience coming out from the food. And whereas the 4C that we talk about, the Buddhist style here, is actually not so much about Buddhism or not so much about Buddhist philosophy. As you heard, we actually talk more about letting it go, let it be, whatever. Whereas for the Buddhist philosophy, we are not talking about let it go. We are not talking about whatever the flow is. We are talking about you see the flow, you know who you are, and you know where you want to go.
So do you think because there can be that confusion between what some of the older generations think the younger generation is doing with this Buddha style, is that contributing to why sometimes they're seen as really being apathetic or lazy when in fact they're trying to have just a simpler, more essentialist way of life?
That could be quite true. I think there is definitely a different value propositions between different generations. Of course, as I mentioned, the earlier generations, when the economy is developing, it requires a lot of conscious effort and a lot of hard work. Current generations, they could afford to be a lot more easygoing, and they have more flexibility, which is, I think, also a benefit from the economic development. But having more choice doesn't mean that they are not caring. As you heard from the drone discussions, they do care about some of their achievement. They do have some objective they have in mind they want to achieve, but it could be very different from the earlier generations.
So having a simpler way of life can still mean spending money on goods and services, but perhaps being more mindful about the quality of those things. So how are businesses adapting to more minimalist consumers?
That's a wonderful question. I would expect for a minimalist economy or real Buddhist inspired economy, we could think a lot more about the reason behind our consumptions. There are a lot more meanings that we could explore, a lot more connection that we can develop from what we consume. And what we can consume and the work we produce also tell us who we are and how do we connect with the environment and different parts of the world.
So talk about some of the companies who are successfully catering to this lifestyle. You have some of these normcore brands like Muji and the Travel Frog mobile game. How are they adapting to all this?
Obviously, they respond to some of the identity people are resonating with, the minimalist style or the Zen-like style. But I think if we're really talking about more Buddhist-inspired economy, we can think a lot more about how we can make more conscious, mindful decisions. It may not be easy, but their services, their innovation can support these kind of consumptions and productivities. For example, we have in Hong Kong our very own plant-based food chain, which think about how we source food, how we produce and cook food. They have their supermarket, they have their chain store. At the same time, like we have a lot of social ventures in Hong Kong doing the same thing, thinking about how in business, in the economy that we engage in, how we can create more social values and more meanings.
Ernest C.H. there from the Center of Buddhist Studies at the University of Hong Kong. Thank you.